Good evening, folks. I am Joe Bachman, and it is time for another Behind the Code. We're going to get the music turned down just a little bit here. Another Tuesday night episode. Hoping to still have this done completely before the end of the year. Probably not going to happen, but we shall see. I am taking some time off of work after Christmas through the new year, so as long as I can get off my ass and actually do some work, I should hopefully be able to bang through this. I'm still working on Cindy Keps, which I need to share my screen. And goes that. Get that brought up on here. Alright, and we'll just stop my camera and just stay with audio only. So I've still got Cindy's to get done. I've got 3 right off the top of my head, I think. Yeah, I've got 3 that are my big ones still. Cindy Cup being one of them, Dan Hollifield, and Michaela Jade. After that, and I still gotta do Aunt Donna's and Carl's. But after those, the rest are pretty small, self-contained, and should go by hopefully fairly quick. And I'm gonna jump ahead in the comments for a moment. Yes, I did say banging through this in front of this audience. I did say that. Hell with it. I don't get any of the youngins in here, so I'm not even going to flash without the green room sign. I am going to flash this, though, because I am horrible about promoting myself and the things that I am doing. Go to Dubby.gg, use the code IndieCD10, save 10% off, and help support the channel. Also, we do have so your site, yes, but you still have an IndieCD profile page, and I'm having to redo the entirety of IndieCD, and you're actually getting a look at how it's being done right now. What was I saying? The IndieCD music channel is now on Kick and Twitch both. 80% of all money raised on those channels via subscriptions, gifted subscriptions, bits on Twitch, or kicks on Kick is going back to the creators that are having their music played there. And if you are an Amazon Prime member, if you link your Amazon Prime account to Twitch, if you want to help support the channel for free, you can go through and use a free gift or free sub each month on a channel of your choice, and the creators still get paid. I don't think they get as much as if it was an actual paid one, but the creators still get money. So, anyway, let me bang through these comments real quick. Yes, I said bang again, Donna. But just remember, you only need just a tip. And first through the door, we got Aunt Donna saying hello to everyone, followed by the Witzman dude. And Dan greeting everybody, and we have greetings. And Donna saying, I just burped garlic bread after eating some of that caramel apple mousse. Interesting. Yeah, that couldn't have been very pleasant. Pleasant is the word we'll go with there. Carl saying, poor sweetie. Dan saying hello. I was over on Christian's show. It was a tribute to Simon Fisher Becker. And Carl was asking if Simon had passed, and I didn't hear about that either. I didn't see that pop up on any of the Doctor Who pages or anything. I would have thought I would have seen that. Yeah, I'm missed hearing out on it too, Carl. Dan says, delightful chap, only known through his acting and vlogs. Carl says he told me some interesting tales, indeed. Asking Donna if she knew who he was, not a clue. And for those who didn't know, he was the blue guy who sold River Song a time watch. He later ended up with his head in a box. With the question that shall not be answered, Doctor Who. The blue fellow from Doctor Who. And yeah, Vortex Manipulator. Hence the name of one of my songs. Okay, so that's where that comes from. And Bladed Thesis is here. Good evening, Bladed. We have greetings from everybody. Dan says, I'm afraid that Lynn is still researching what to say about British tea ceremonies. It's the camera shyness, really. And Dan's laughing. I knocked one task off the honeydew list this week. She's already added 4 more. And Carl's saying, Dan, you keep proving yourself useful. Stop it. Yeah, that's, you gotta slow down on the honeydew list. And Dan saying, Carl, I'm my father's son. I was trained decades ago. Still, she doesn't know more than 1/10 of what I can do. And Michaela's here. Good evening, Michaela. And we got greetings. And Carl's asking if the dog get off you long enough to type. Yeah, I've seen a lot of pictures lately, Michaela, of the dog just being like, no, you're not going to get anything accomplished. I'm going to be a lap dog that, judging by their size in the pictures, they are not a lap dog. And Donna saying terrible news about Rob Reiner is right. Yes. I saw that late last night or night before, whenever it happened. And then the next morning is when I saw the reports about it being his son, or their son, that caused it. And Dan's asking Michaela, how many more books have you done since we last spoke? And there it is. Michaela's saying, doubt it, Dan, I'll take it. Thanks for noticing. I've been rebuilding my brand. Yes, you have. And Dan says, take it for granted. I'll always miss you when you're busy. Carl says, families and the blame within them are a mystery. Sad news anyway. Yep. And Donna says, don't forget to like and share, folks. Yes, please do like, share, subscribe. Because I once again, am horrible about, actually doing, my part. And apparently I need to crank. Oh! Didn't crank the right volume down. That was good. Good job, Joe. Not like I don't run a show every single week or anything. Carl says Trip was demanding pets and slowing my typing, but then Calvin came by and he's following. See, Donna says, so he oh yeah, he said banging through this. Yep. Cindy has a lot of stuff to list, yes. And Michaela's laughing, and Dawn's with us. Good evening, Dawn. And Dan saying crank the music down a little further, and hopefully where I have it at now is good. I'm also looking slightly away from my microphone, because I have you guys up on my right monitor. The page I'm working on is up on the monitor directly in front of me. So yeah, trying to speak a little louder, make sure it picks me up. And nope, didn't delete your profile page, just the website. And we got greetings to Dawn, and Carl saying he had to rebuild the whole website. And greetings to Dawn. Jane saying no, site's been down, Joe's rebuilding it from code up. Yep. And Blade says, Dan, I understand camera shy, but honestly, I just want a conversation about the differences between Chinese and British tea culture. And Dan saying, he says, I can't make her do anything. Okay. I can do this. Michaela said, okay, thought all the info was deleted. Cool. I like not being on the outside. Inside is more fun. And Carl's saying that's what he... and it haunts me. Yes, it does. It'll haunt you all the time. And Trey's here. Good evening, Trey. Saw you just before the show started. Kayla says I built another site on card.co, so that site is michaelajdbooks.com. And Dawn's gone into listening mode. Trey said I found out they actually hinted at Doctor Who's name in the comics. His nickname included the Greek letter Sigma. And got greetings to Trey. And Dan says, yes, Trey, his college nickname was Theta Sigma. Carl says, 6 specials on your Skyland Trey, get them. And Michaela says, dang, I'm slipping, didn't see those comments. I have one official book coming out this year because of working on the back end of my business. And Dan says, it's not like I don't want to hear my own music. And Carl says, good job to Trey. All right. Caught up on comments. Let's get back into this part. It's where I can see what the hell I'm doing. I'm trying to remember where I left off. Oh, how can I pull up? I am losing it. I would have had to have it to begin with, but that's beside the point. We're up. And if I'm smart, because I know you guys will be commenting while I'm not looking at this screen. And Trey says got the special by the door too. And we got a couple of whoops. Let's see, is this gonna look alright if I do it like this? Oh, that'll be good. Okay, good. That will look. Alright. So, animal eye is done. So this is H. What is that? What did I do that as? H3? H3. Aqua synthesis again. Splashdown. Volume 2. Alright, we're gonna do here, do image. Do another one here. And this is going to be fun to try and code in. Alright, so we got class, font, size members, and we're going to copy that because I'm going to end up using that a lot here. That. 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 And that. There we go. So that's all loaded in. I need the image. We're going to require this. Put a new tab. Cindy, there you are. I already have the image. Oi. Apparently I need more caffeine still, but that's okay. We will chug along. Images, creators, syndicate, synthesis. Synthesis again. Splashdown, volume 2, syndicate. And minimize that. Copy the link. Come up here. Nope. Come on. Link. There. There. And class links. And add the link there. Don't need to give it a class because it won't have the underline. And that's where it says image. All right. And Donna says, now I have Callie purring in my arms, and Carl's saying, aw. And says, my neck just popped loud enough to make the Hun feel jealous. And Carl's saying, chug a Dubby, Joe. That sounds awful, doesn't it? At least you put Dubby, and it didn't autocorrect you to Chubby. That would have been a little awkward, but, you know, it happens. Dan says, bought some lumber and hardware today to make a mount for solar panels on the well house. The design I had in mind was too complicated, so I simplified it quite a bit. And bought groceries for mine and Lynn's Christmas dinner, too. Nice. And Carl says, not the Munsey show, but next couple days, every mech you deploy in Redeem store deploys 2 mechs. Nice. Alright, up next we have Victorian Venus. Nope. That's right, I forgot. Last thing I did was that. Copy. That is not what I wanted to copy. Glad I just looked at that. Copy. Paste. Here, image, nest. That one should be under V, and it is. Actually, image. Come back here, copy link. Come back here, enter link. And got Victorian Venus, Cindy Cap, author, directory, and link, boom. And class links. Nice. Let's see here. My voice has power. Voice has power. A lit RPG is back. Follow G. Image. and class font size. I'm going to just do this real quick. I think I copied that already. I did. Okay. Class links. Throw the image in. I said it was my voice has power. LM. Nope. Okay, that one's not going to work. Oh, you took out the whole damn thing. Stop it. That one. That one works. Okay. And go here, 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 here. Voice has power. RPG. Gives back phone emoji. Recap. Author in the CD. Independent breaker directory. Alright. That's added. Copy and paste this in first. Then I can copy this. 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 Boom. All right. Carl says I need to do a tutorial about how to comment on YouTube. Sometimes I'll comment and then someone else replies to my comment instead of posting it for the host. And I mean that about past videos, not current chats. Yeah. Dan saying, Michaela, if my publisher ever quits putting out award-winning horror anthologies, he may put out 3 more of my books next year. I sent him a 150,000-word manuscript, and he wants to split it into 3 volumes. I'm not holding my breath. And we do have someone over on Kick. Good evening. Alright, up next we have the Nightmare Collective Part 2. That is good there. Copy the link. And come up here. Give this the link. And the proper class. And the image. It's nested. Now, did I put this under the Nightmare Collective? I did. Okay. And give it the link. Nightmare Collective Part 2. Cindy Cup. Author. NBCD. Career Directory. Boy. And take out the little spot that says image. Ta-da! Avatars of Web Surfer is up next. Alright, got that in there. Copy that link. Click the link. Place links. Image, nest. Avatars of Web Surfer. That. Link. Oh, all right. Got that done. Get that out. Let's see. Carl says, Joe, when you get to my profile, I'll be taking a few out-of-date books out. That should make your life easier too. I appreciate it, but if you're still selling them on Lulu, we can leave them in. It's not a problem. It feels overwhelming seeing such a long list. When it's really not. It's, as you can see, it's pretty much the same, code over and over again. It's just a lot of back and forth between two screens. Dan says, when I can finally claw my way out of this year's depression, I may be able to finish 2 or 3 more manuscripts. I'm going to seriously contemplate going indie to avoid years of delay releasing stuff. And Carl says, yes, Dan, I would recommend it. They can still publish it in a few years. Yep. And you have a lot of people here that know all about how to publish on Lulu and Amazon and everything else. So and Dan says, I'm really tired of waiting half a decade for something to be released. Yeah, that would get old, and it's good stuff that you're writing. So they're just kind of shooting themselves in the foot by not releasing it, and B, not going through and promoting it like they should. But we are half hour in. We're going to pause the music, and we will be right back after these short messages from other indie creators.
Hey there, everyone. This is Donna Carlene. Want some romance mixed in with a dead body or more? Then you enjoy my Hunter's Ridge series. Set in a small town in Alabama, it's the story of Northern Rider computer tech Carly Simone and the love of her life, Captain B.J. Martin of the Hunter's Ridge PD. But life in a small town is not all roses and beer, as Carly's expertise in true-life crime-telling makes her the Hunter's Ridge murder expert. And then there's nowhere to go dancing except the Dixie with its country music. But Rocker Carly can adjust, can't she?
In the early days of the Korean War, an underage boy ran away from his family's farm in West Virginia to join the Army. He quickly transferred to the Air Corps and became a fighter pilot. Somehow, he became useful to several alphabet agencies, so he was recruited to help them during the Cold War. Eventually, he got tired of being a spy and tried to retire. Fate had other ideas. These are some of the early adventures of Captain Tom Darby of the U.S. Army Air Corps. From before that fateful night, he rode his motorcycle around a curve too fast on a back road in rural Georgia and accidentally began a new life entirely.
All right, we are back, and we are going to go over to track 15, Hold My Beer and Watch This, which is part of Dan Hollifield's Second Helping album. And let's unstar that. Carl says Donna chose one of her books. I had it edited and the cover done in about a week. Now to format and upload. Should be out in January. Nice. And you are most welcome. Donna says that ad needs to be updated. There's 3 more books in that series so far. And Dan says I promised him one more book, but after that I'll paint my own covers and hire editors to release the books myself. There you go. And Carl says, and next time we'll let you out of the hole and record the audio. And Donna says, and maybe get some good music for it. I like the music for that one. The hell book am I on now? I just did Avatars. Okay. We are on Medieval Mars. Carl sighing. It says better music would be appreciated. You don't like country music. And Carl says everyone likes that music except for Donna and Bladed, apparently. It's okay, but Zydeco is not country. Okay, yeah. Let's see, let's copy that. Go here. Add in another level 3 heading with Medieval Mars. And put placeholder for the image. Hit enter, Joe, that'll help out a lot. And font size numbers. And do that. This, and this. And don't ask me why I picked the name, the variable names that I picked. I mean, they make sense in my head for some oddball reason. I couldn't tell you why they make sense in my head, but they do. And image. Nest. Medieval Mars. With the link and Medieval Mars. Now, one thing I don't think I've explained when I'm doing the alternate text for the pictures, there's technically 2 reasons behind that. One, if the picture doesn't load for some oddball reason, it should display that text. Secondly, if someone is sight impaired and they are using a screen reader, it should read that text. And third, when the web crawling bots come through, which those are your search engine bots that help with your rankings and Google searches and all that fun stuff, they will read that text. So the more that I can put in, the different categories, the author name, and indie CD or independent creator directory, that theoretically at some point should help with the algorithm of the various web searches. So let's see, we got Mindstorm coming up next. Ooh. And we got this one. Give it the correct thing, Joe. That helps. And let's copy this. Paste it in. Oops. Not a capital P. That'll throw it off even more, Joe. And copy the link. Give it the link. And give it the image. And come on, there we go. And we have Foxy joining us. Good evening, Foxy. And we have greetings to Foxy. And Dan says if he refuses to use the cover art I paint for Canton the Crow, I'm done with him. And when I get the rights back to the other stuff, I'm using covers that actually have something to do with the story. Carl says the text alternatives are very important to blind web users. Their text-to-voice software can't see images. It's true. Dan says Cat and the Crow. And Dawn's sort of kind of back. Dale and Viv say hi. And hello to the parents. Hopefully they are recovering well. Carl says good that they are still kicking, just not each other. Yeah. Dan says sheesh, Dan poured drinks so you have something to blame the typos on. And Don's laughing, saying exactly, Carl. Okay, so Mindstorm. Oh, and take out the image placeholder. That helps. Alright, Mindstorm is done. We are on to Into the Open. And thank you for the follow, Great Way, over on Kick. And Carl says, did someone say pour a drink? Don't mind if I do. Yeah, I actually have something for the green room this Friday. The Jack Daniel's spiced apple cider, I think is what it is. And we got Botworks thanking Dan and Master Boot Record for allowing us to use their music during the streams. And Dan says, what you got on tap tonight, Carl? And the comment that just went through my head, I don't even think I could say in the green room. So we're just going to leave it at that. I'm going to go back to copying this lovely little description of Into the Open and go back to my coding like a good little boy. Put the closing one there. Re-add the opening. And there we go. Scroll all the way down here. Nest the image into the open. Copy the link. The link and the class. And give this the link. And into the open. Let's see here. Carl says all I have left is Rich's gin. Donna says, Botrix is so polite and well-mannered. Yes, he is. Dan says, Joe, what are you thinking of tapping instead of working? So... Oh, hell with it, I'll say it. To find out what he has on tap, you'd have to ask Aunt Donna. Anyway, Blade, it says you can say anything in the green room, just mute yourself if you are afraid. It's just true. Carl says, I already had too many items at Meyer today. May stop by somewhere smaller and get some bourbon later. And he's laughing at Thesis. Dan says, or should I have said whom? And Dawn says, what is this mute yourself you refer to, Thesis? Let's see here. Where was I at with this? Oh, I need to take out the placeholder. And that completes that. And Donna doesn't kiss and tell. Insinuate maybe, just not tell. And up next we have Like Hurting the Wind. The name of this book reminds me of trying to, herd my wife, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law while walking around Walmart after my father-in-law's house caught fire. Like herding a bunch of feral rabid squirrels. I don't know why I always want to try and capitalize the P for the closing bracket. I do it damn near every time. Copy link. Come up here. I just realized I spelled that wrong. Ditch the A. There we go. And give that class links. Get down here. We'll mess the image. That. Link and. Whew. Well, it's a good thing I'm left-handed, because my left hand gets a workout typing out independent creator directory, seeing as the majority of the letters seem to be on that left side. Let's see, Carl says that's a good thing. Blaze says, believe me, I've muted myself many a time instead of saying what has been on my mind. Carl says, me too, thesis, believe it or not. And Foxy does too. Don says, I can be tactful when I need to be. My cats keep trying to steal the heat from my space heater. Carl says, Foxy, you need to speak up more, not hold back. It says, feral rabid squirrels. How did you know the name of my underground metalcore band? Oh, Blade says, I tell her that all the time. And Carl says, what was that band that Ted Davies and I were starting? I think it was Trickle Down Rehab. Don says, that's why you say you exercise. That's why you say you exercise your left hand. It's my lie. I get to tell it how I want. And Fox says, I've been holding back a lot last couple days because my relatives are terrible people. I'm sorry to hear that. Let's see here. H3. Condemned period. Image. That. After that, do this, do this, do this. That's all good there. That's the image. Copy the link. Here. Link. True. Search that part. And it says put all that as lines in Notepad and just copy and paste when needed. I do that for aphelion layouts. Yep. Aphelion, sorry, not aphelion, aphelion. Carl says, aw. Blade says, yeah, they definitely do suck. Foxy's relatives, I mean. And Dan says, think of it as temporary templates. Type once, copy and paste infinitely. Yeah. Well, the nice thing is a lot of this stuff doesn't actually take long to type out. Which is why I'm glad I tried to use a converter first to convert everything from WordPress. Pardon me, from WordPress to HTML. Because that at least gave me the book parts I can copy and paste. The synopsis. Synopsises. I don't know. Something like that. Anyway, with friends like these. Image. And Fast font size. Paste. And copy link. Put in the link. Class links. And, oop, come on. Mesh the image. Translate these. Link. Finish that part. We got Mythic Orbits Volume 2. Image placeholder. That is not what I wanted. Go. Where I leave off at. Dan says doesn't matter, time saved is time saved. True. Blade says synopsis sisters. And Donna says don't feel bad, Joe. Nephew's school had e-school yesterday and I was called to check English work. It was hard. How was I an English major in college? Fortunately, we only missed one thanks to Uncle Carl. Nice. And Dan says, Donna, they keep changing the rules. That they do. Alright, with friends like these, let's copy the back of the book in. Then we'll copy the link. Come up here. Give it the link. I do like that I can just do that without having to constantly type in the AHREF. Son of a bitch. Let's scroll down a little bit. Let's copy this. Replace this text here. And then copy this link and throw it in here. So that we're actually linking to the right thing. Let's see, Mythic Orbits. Here, Mythic Orbits, Volume 2, Tap, Author, CD, Independent Creator, Directory. That's all, folks. There's that part. There we go. And Carl says, I would still argue with that teacher that was not exactly a run-on sentence. Donna says, I meant it was Uncle Carl who made us miss one. We disagreed on whether a sentence was run on or not. He said not, so we went with it. Nope, it was. Carl says, the teacher or textbook might argue, but how many books have they written? Good point. Dan says, seems like every short story I write is one long run-on sentence until I edit it. And Carl's saying, right, Dan? Is she saying that James Joyce, Douglas Adams, and Kurt I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, are wrong. Blade says at least none of you had to edit the college papers Foxy had to do. Making that drivel sound coherent was a job in and of itself. It says, but as one teacher told me, you have to learn the rules first before you can break them. This is true. And this is why it's not a war crime the first time. And Fox says that was a nightmare. Carl saying, no, Foxy, the term papers that my psych students wrote. Oh, Lord. And Dan says I was once favorably compared to Joyce. Not sure which one, though. Alright, let me... Where did I leave off at? Mythic Orbits. So now we have the loudest actions. Copy that, use it. There we go. Link. Link. Class. And the image. And the link. Loudest actions. Cap. All right. And we can do away with placeholder. All right, we are an hour in. So we are going to pause the music one more time. And we are going to play a couple more ads. We will be back after this short break. Once I figure out what I want to play. This one looks good.
Welcome, friends. I'm Lloyd at Thesis, and this is my tea house. Come join me every Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time as we discuss Chinese culture, history, philosophy, and of course, martial arts. You can find me at youtube.com/BLADETH3SIS. Pull up a chair, grab a cup of tea, or the drink of your choice, and join the discussion.
Hi, I'm Auntie Foxy, and I'm a crafting addict. I make custom jewelry from recycled materials, and Foxy has wares if you have coin. You can find me at ndcd.org/about-auntie-foxy. I hope to see you there.
All right, let's get back into the music with track number 2, New Orleans Mud. And I know we're talking about a lot about editing stuff right now. if someone remembers on Friday when Trey is in the green room, ask her about the time she had to edit the resume for my friend John. And if she is still watching right now, I expect to hear the scream come through the floorboards here shortly. Fox says, at least I can think in sentences. This fella did not. And Donna, while trying to look innocent, Elaine Joyce Dan? Joyce DeWitt, says Carl. Joyce Brothers? I mean, being a doctor and all, says Dawn. Blade said after she finished the first paper, she decided it was easier to just have him tell her what he wanted to say, and she would make it make sense. Ooh. Dan says, I tend to think conversations the way people actually talk. That leads to run-on sentences and sentence fragments and dialect. Not sure that's a bad thing, but my English teacher sure had opinions. Carl says that is understandable thesis, but does the student learn anything? We need to make these people learn. And Foxy says he talked like that too. He once memorably said the car just off. And Carl says, no, it made Joe. Dan says, I think it was James and Henry. Henry may be a distorted memory, though. Whoever's last name was Joyce back in the 70s. And my lovely wife is giving me the bird. Dawn is laughing. And Blaze says he wasn't going to learn anyway. When someone mentioned punctuation in context, he said, I get by without it. I never knew John, my buddy John, lived out in Utah for a while. Because just going back to this for a second, if you ever saw some of the text messages I got from this man, there were times he would send me like paragraphs of text messages with no punctuation whatsoever. And I'd be driving and I'd tell the little AI dealie in the phone to read new messages. And it would be such a long run-on sentence, I'd have to tell it to stop. And I'd just reply with, I'll read this when I get home so I can make it make sense. And Donna says, Dan, if you've read my Hunter's Ridge books, you'll see the dialect strong in there and in Luck of the Irish. Alright, so I think I got loudest actions done. Now we're on to lines of succession. Come on, fingers, type the way I want you to type. And copy that in. And copy that. And I can do that. That. And this. That should be the last line. It is. Very good. Back over here. Copy the link. Set the image. And Remnant in the Stars. That's just one line, so that works. Copy. Text links. Oh, don't erase that yet, Joe. God almost screwed that up. Where's it at? There it is. Rise and Rescue Volume 1. Sure there's no special markings there. Copy the link, come back here, put in the link, give it some class. Missed the image. That, and there we go. Alright, catch back up on the comments here real quick. Dan says, same and old Dan Donna, that was pure East Tennessee dialect that I learned from my family elders. And Blaze says, elders, right. And said, I once did a couple of 1,000 words of a story with attributing the dialogue to specific characters. That was a nightmare to edit, I can imagine. Carl says, I try to edit as little as possible. I am more likely to add a note like, is this what you were trying to say, and toss it back to the writer to fix. I'm not writing the work they are, which is true. And says, thesis, they were in their 60s when I was in diapers. Even if Nick is right, I had to recycle incarnations occasionally. Carl said, or say, did he get out of the car? You didn't tell us that. He's suddenly running down the street. And Al's with us over on Kick. Good evening, Al. Yeah, this is actually somewhat relaxing for me. But yeah, it's been a good night so far. Good conversation, and I'm slowly getting this profile page done. We're getting there. And Dan says, without attributing the characters is what I meant to type. I'm typing faster than I am thinking tonight. Nothing wrong with that. Alright, let's get back into this with Rise and Rescue Volume 2. Rise and Rescue Volume 2. Throw the image placeholder in. That in. Copy the link. Carl says, "Hey Hal, Joe would be further along if we weren't over here distracting him." Nah, you're fine. I would end up distracting myself, trust me. And image. Rise and Rescue Volume 2. There it is. Rescue Volume 2. Author, NBCD, creator, directory, link, erase placeholder. And next up we have Warriors Tribute. That. Copy link. This. Class links. Add the image real quick, and then we'll get into these comments that are popping in. Warriors Tribute. Holy cow, that one's big. That's what she said. That's better. Okay. Give it the link. Warriors Tribute. Independent Creator Directory. And search the placeholder. There we go. Dan says, as long as you can eventually make it make sense, I wish comments were editable, right? Foxy does too. And Al says, well, I got Droid Cam working today after an hour of updates on my old phone. One step closer. Nice. For those that don't know, Kane's Chains over on Kick will be starting to stream soon. So if you're on Kick, do please be sure to give him a follow. And Dan says, I'd look far less stupid if I could correct my typos before the host reads them to the rest of the audience. And I'd probably sound a lot better if I didn't trip over my tongue. And Carl says, Joe is green rooming himself now. Yeah. Wouldn't be the first time. Let's see. Hero's best friend. Image. That's all one. Very good. Link. And back here. This. Image list. Oops. There we go. Oh, good God. Nope. Actually, I'm done. Woohoo! Oh, wait. Nope. I take that back. I'm not. There's one more. I am just not putting in the entire book excerpt of this one because I value what little Sandy I have left. Copy link. Paste link. Nest the image. Give it a link. Creator directory. There we go. And oops. That. And now Cindy's page is done. Holy cow. Alright. Get into these comments real quick. Dan says, note self, when Lynn says she wants me to come to bed earlier than I normally do, it's not as exciting as you all might think. She doesn't sleep well if we're not holding hands or touching somehow. Aww. That's cute. Carl says, Joe, I think Cindy probably wrote another book while you were finishing up. Yeah, right. Don says, when you walk back into the room and you hear Joey say, what little Sandy I have left, and you give him, or in this case my screen, the side eye. Dawn, you can't see this, but just imagine Josh's greeting. Carl's laughing at Dawn. Donna's saying yay. And Dan says, she sleeps better if my hand is touching the small of her back or resting on her hip. Nothing prurient. Just marriage. Why you gotta use the large words with multiple R's? Don says, so you're saying to me what your wife said to you a bit ago? Yes! Yes, there we go. Alright, we are an hour and 20 in. And let's see who my next victim is. Here. No, you don't go there. Go over here. There we go. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're going to call it here for the night. Because the next one is going to take a little bit of work that I don't know my brain really wants to try and handle tonight. So, we're going to do save all. We're going to come back here to authors. And find Cindy Kep. Dimitri, Darian, Cindy. / members Cindy Kep. And she didn't have any of her games listed, so we're actually going to take out the game designer part. I can always add that back in later, but for now we'll do that. And for now, we're going to take her off of game designers. And connect to the remote website. Put everything up to the site. So up next will be Damian Waldbrun. If I can come over here. There we go. Let's turn my camera back on. It'll bring me up on the screen here. So yeah, up next will be Damian Waldbrun, and his won't take long as far as like the amount of stuff he has. The longest part is going to be just the kind of formatting on this one. So yeah. Let's see. Carl says nothing prurient. Moving on. Dan says I spelled it right, Joe. You could have spelled it wrong for all I know. My vocabulary is not like yours. I look at words like that and go, the P word. Dan says I have a huge vocabulary. Carl says, good idea, Joe. Have a good rest. And Dan says, probably take less time to do Michaela's books than to list my music. Oh, your music will be simple because I'm going to list it like I did on the old site, where it's just links to the various albums. I am not doing a link to each and every individual track. Donna says you did great, Joe. Thank you. And Shield says, Dan, that just makes me think of John Hartford's Prurient Blues. That word is now going to haunt me like just the tip. I have a feeling. But with that, folks, we are going to call it a night. We will be back tomorrow night for Indie CD's Creatives at Play, which, to the shock and awe of many, I will be doing a wood burning tomorrow night. So, what am I going to burn? A piece of wood. What am I going to burn onto that piece of wood? A design. Which design? Not a effing clue. So you'll have to tune in and find out what I'm doing, because I'm going to have to tune in to find out what the hell I'm doing. So we will see you all tomorrow night. Dan says, good, each track would take you forever. Don says, whenever you hear it, it'll be an homage to you. Yes, there's that word again. Carl says, everyone have a great evening. Don says, yay, wood burning, and Foxy saying night all. Al saying, hang bud, good night, Al. Prurient wood burning, thank you, Dan. And Bladed saying good night. With that, folks, we will catch you later.